Welcome back to math. It's Mrs. Crosland again. Today we're going to do Unit 4, Lesson 6, and our target for today is students will learn to solve multiplication problems in which one factor is a decimal number. So you remember when you have a multiplication problem, the two numbers that you multiply together are called factors. Okay, so we're going to take a whole number. Now whole numbers are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to infinity, and we're going to multiply it by a decimal. Okay, so today we're going to figure out what the answer or the product is when you have a decimal. Please join me on page 173. I know there's a lot of writing and a lot of words on this, and try to stay with me, because I think if you stay with me, it's going to be a pretty easy lesson. All right, so the Ruiz children are having a yard sale. They sold some old toys. They made a table to show how many toys they sold and how much money they earned. Okay, now they sold 3 jump ropes. And this is quite a yard sale because they only charged 9 cents a piece for a jump rope. I think that's probably a pretty good bargain at a garage sale. So 3 jump ropes, 9 cents a piece. 3 times 9 is 27, so they made 27 cents. Another way to show this is showing this 9 cents as a decimal. And you remember that. You can write it like this, and that's 9 cents also. So look at what it looks like when you put the decimal and the dollar sign in there. 3 times 9 cents is 27 cents. They also sold 4 marbles for 2 cents apiece. 4 marbles, 2 cents apiece, 8 cents. Again, over here, 4 marbles, 2 cents written as a decimal is 0.02. And their answer, 8 cents written over here. All right, toy cars, 6 of them sold for 12 cents a piece. 6 times 12 is 72 cents. Again, over here is how you would see it with a dollar sign. And the last one, 5 puzzles, 30 cents, 150 cents. But look what happens over here. You get $1.50, right? Because 3 times 15, you have to carry that one over to the other side. All right, well now, how did they know the number of decimal places in each product in the last column? How did they know that the decimal was going to be here? Well, we're talking about money, right? And so you know money always has 2 decimal places. So you could say something like money has 2 decimals. Go ahead and write that in. Now, number 2, they want to know how much money did they earn in dollars. So if you wanted to find the total, you would add up all of these things right here. And I know that as a Hastings Middle School 5th grader, I know that you have superior adding skills, and I know that if I asked you to add that up, you would be able to do it successfully, and you would get $2.57. So I'm just going to tell you that answer and save us all some time. All right. Now, this is going to look a little goofy at first, but I think if you stay with me, you're going to be able to follow along. So Mia saves the change from her lunch money each day. She gets 34 cents in change each day, and she's been saving it for 26 cents. Mia uses the steps below to find out how much money she has saved so far. All right, so take a look at what they did up here first of all. This is where they're going to get the information for down there. So first of all, they rewrote the 34 cents as 30 plus 4 cents. And then they rewrote the 26 as 20 plus 6. So it's a little bit like doing the box method, kind of, and a little bit like the traditional way. So you know that when you're multiplying the traditional way, first you would multiply the 6 times the 4, and then you do the 6 times the 3. So that's really what they're doing, only they've written it out over here. So the first step is the 6 times the 4 cents. 6 times the 4, 6 times 4 cents is 24 cents, and over here is how you'd write it in money with 2 places behind the decimal. Then it's the 6 times the 30. Again, if you were doing it over here, it would be 6 times the 3. 6 times 30 cents is going to give you 180 cents. 180 cents would be $1.80. Next step, now we're going to multiply by the 20. Again, we're working from right to left. So first we're going to do the 20 times the 4 cents. 20 times 4 is 80 cents. And now we have to write it in over here using a decimal and a dollar sign. Go ahead and copy that down. Then we're going to multiply over this way. We're going to do the 20 times 30 cents. So 20 times 30 cents is 60. Now they've got 60 dimes, okay? I would have thought of that as 600 cents. Okay, maybe you thought of that too. 60 dimes, 600 cents, it's all going to be $6. Okay, now go ahead, pause, add that all up. Did you get $8.84? Hope so. All right, question 3. How many decimal places are there in the decimal factor 34? Well, how many decimal places? 1, 2. How many decimal places are in the answer? 1, 2. How about that? There's 2 decimal places in the factor, in this factor here, and there are 2 in the answer. All right, turn to your next page. Here's another money problem. A bead factory spends 65 cents to make each crystal bead. The steps below show how Antonio finds the total amount to make 222 crystal beads. Now this kind of drives me crazy the way they set this problem up. I like to put the longer number up on the top like this and put the shorter number on the bottom. Okay, so that's just a personal preference, but we can do it like this. When you have 3 numbers on the bottom, if you're multiplying the traditional way, you would do your ones column, then you'd put your 0 and do your tens column, and then you'd put 2 zeros down and multiply by your hundreds. So that's what it would look like if you were doing it the traditional way. We're going to do this by using the place value way. Okay, so first we're going to multiply the number in the ones place. So we're going to multiply the 2 times the whole 65 cents. Okay, can you do that in your head? 65 and 65. It should be $1.30. Copy that down. Now, you're going to love this. This is going to be the shifting. So now we're going to multiply this tens number. My smartboard's off a little bit. Maybe I'll use a different color. This tens number here, the middle 2, the 20, times the whole 65 cents. So now we've got 20 times 65. And really, look at, you go from 2 to 20. We're really just shifting it over one place. So our answer, we can just shift that over one place. So instead of $1.30, it would be what? Did you say 13? Hoping you did. So now I'm going to write my $13. Ooh, that's way too fat. Sorry. $13. All right. Now we're going to multiply by this other 2. This is really hard for you to see, I think, but we're going to multiply by this third 2 over here. So it's 200 times 65 hundredths, or 65 cents. So now, same numbers, right? We're just going to shift one more place over. So instead of $13, what would it be? $130. All right, add them up. And if you lined your decimal up carefully, you'd get $144.30. I'm going to be honest, when I did that on my own the first time, I got a different number because I did not line my decimals up and I did it in my head. So it pays to write them down and it pays to line them up. All right, so we've got 2 questions that are kind of important down here. How many decimal places are there in the decimal factor 65? Remember our factors number we're multiplying by? So in that number 65, how many decimal places were there? 1, 2, the 6 and the 5, right? So there were 2. And how many were there in the answer? 2. Okay? Describe the relationship between the number of decimal places you've seen in the product and the number in the factor. Well, the factor is the number you're multiplying by, and the answer is the product. So far, it's been the same. It's been 2 in all of these, right? Because it's all been money. So let's do a problem where we don't have money. So this is the owner of a spice company, and they want to sell twice as much spice in the future, probably so they can make twice as much money, twice as much spice in the future as they do now. And so they're going to make a chart to figure out how much they're going to sell in the future. So cloves is a spice, like might be in like a spice cake or spice bread, or sometimes people will put them on ham. Right now, this is right now what they sell. Right now they're selling 3/10 of a ton, and they want to double it. So we're going to multiply that, and what do you get? 6/10. And I think probably a lot of us in our head did 3/10 plus 3/10 is 6/10, right? So over here, 3/10 plus 3/10 is 6/10. Cinnamon, I know you know what that is. They sell 4/100 of a ton, and they want to sell twice as much. So we're going to double it. You get 8/100 of a ton, because 4/100 plus 4/100 is 8/100. Easy peasy, right? Ginger, 7/100 of a ton. Doubling it, you get 14/100, because 7/100 plus 7/100 is 14/100. I think my smartboard's haunted. Got some crookedy numbers there. All right, now the last one, pepper, 6/10 of a ton. Same thing, doubling sixes, you get 12 or 1.2, because 0.6 plus 0.6 is 1.2. All right, so now we're not dealing with money. They want us to look at the number of decimal places in each decimal factor and the number of places in the product. Remember, the product is the answer. So let's take a look at these one by one. So in the cloves, there was a whole number and there was a decimal, right? The decimal had 1 place, 1 in the 3, and look at the answer. It's got 1 right there. Cinnamon, there's 2 decimal places, 2 decimal places. Ginger, 2 decimal places, 2 decimal places. Pepper, 1 decimal place in the factor, 1 in the product. What do you see? I'm hoping that you're thinking that it's the same. So the number, I'm going to do this for number, of places in the factor is the same as the product. Copy that down. Pause it if you need to, and then turn your page. So now we're going to try some problems without a chart at all. And you just have to remember that the number of decimal places in the factor is going to be the same as the number of decimal places in your product or your answer. So for number 9, I'm just going to pretend that that decimal isn't even there, and I'm just going to multiply like normal. 6 times 8 is 48. Bring my 4 up here. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 48. Now, I have 1 decimal place in my factor, so I'm going to have 1 decimal place in my answer, and my decimal goes right there. And I'm starting at the right and counting that way. All right, I'm going to skip over to number 11. So again, I'm just going to pretend the decimal isn't even there, and then I'm going to think about how many decimal places will be in my answer once I get all done. 9 times 5 is 45. Bring my 4 up here. 9 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 9 times 0 is 0. And it looks kind of goofy having a 0 out over there. A lot of times I'll just leave that 0 off. So the number of decimal places in your answer is the same as the number of decimal places in your factor. The factor up here has 2 decimal places, so I'm going to start over here. Remember, the decimal is always at the end if you don't know